surrounded by wrestling fans. Not sports entertainment fans. Professional wrestling fans! Professional wrestling! This is it! This is us standing up! This is
the Wrestling Matters Podcast, a podcast that stands up for professional wrestling. Why? Because wrestling matters. So join the revolution, because the revolution is now. Hey, start the show. My lords, ladies and gentlemen, and whoever else is listening to this, hopefully not kids, but hey, if you are, welcome as well. This is the Wrestling Matters Podcast, ladies and gentlemen, the podcast that stands up for professional wrestling, as that intro said. Hope you liked that intro, by the way. My name is Anthony Walker, the H, the A, the D. Welcome to another episode. That's right, Wrestling Matters Podcast. Hope you peeps are doing well. Now, I've got a few things I want to do before we get into what we usually do on this show. Let's talk wrestling. Now, I will talk Raw, SmackDown, TNA, NXT, and it was a very special episode of NXT this past week as well, and Ring of Honor. I will also talk about ICW, but I will talk about what's going to come up on the on-demand service and why you should get that on-demand service. That's right, you definitely need to get the on-demand service. And if you haven't got it, then you're full. But more on that later. I will talk a lot more of the reasons why you should get that on-demand service. And I'll also talk about an upcoming podcast that I plan on doing, which I will be doing this sometime this week for ICW as well. My own Wrestling Matters Extra podcast on ICW. So be sure to check that out. Like I say, more on that later. Also, I have another... That's right, you heard me correct. I have another interview. An interview with a certain Jonny Ferrari. Now, for those of you that don't know, he's a poker player turned wrestling manager, an entrepreneur, and a guy who likes strippers, as you will find out during the interview. God, this guy's a crazy cat. He really is. He was absolutely super cool. He said to me on Twitter when I hooked this up that it was going to be fun, and it was. It was actually fun. Be sure to check out video as well, which I'll promote later on in the podcast as well, involving Mr. Ferry as well. And be sure I'll promote his websites and whatnot later on in the show. But this guy was really, really cool, really, really fun. Part 1 will be up later on today. That's right, later on today's show, so be sure to check that out. Part 2 will be up next week. Also this week, besides the ICW on-demand service as well, the little thing that I'm going to be talking about, and the barramania, be sure to check out sometime this week as well. You saw it on the podcast, you heard it on the podcast, Massimo Italiano's interview, part 1 and part 2. Well, I'm going to upload the full interview in its entirety, no breaks, no nothing. The full interview will be up in its entirety at some point on Podomatic, Stitcher Radio, iTunes, Mixcloud, and YouTube. So be sure to check that out and look out for it. It'll be up some point this week. So I don't know when, but it'll be up. Guarantee that. And all that good stuff is what to come. Now, guys, I need your help on something. To the people that are listening to this, I don't care who you are, I don't care what. I want some feedback. I need your help to help me improve the podcast. I'd like to request some feedback from you guys. Feedback in what you guys want on the podcast. What am I doing wrong on the podcast? Am I doing anything wrong? I've got some semblance of feedback that is good feedback, and hey, I'm all about that. But maybe this could be some improvements on the podcast. What do you want to hear on the podcast? What do you want me to talk about? Is there a promotion out there that I'm missing out on? Hell, if there's a wrestling promotion out there that I'm missing out on, hell, hook me up. Let me know, okay? Holler at your boy. Let me know. So what I would like you guys to do is, if you want, you can get me on Twitter at WM Podcast. You can get me on Twitter at Tony_Walker. But I prefer you get me on WM Podcast because this is the Wrestling Matters Podcast, of course. WM Podcast on Twitter. You can get me on Facebook.com/WM Podcast. But the main place I want you to get me on is, or I would like you to get me on, is my email address, which is THE_HEAD316 @hotmail.com. Hook me up. Okay, that particular site, them 3 places there. Facebook.com/WM Podcast, WM Podcast on Twitter, and my email address, which is THE_HEAD316 @hotmail.com. Links will be in the description and that, in case you didn't get them. But please, guys, help me out. What can I do to improve the podcast? Feedback is welcome. Feedback is necessary. Feedback helps me grow and helps me improve the podcast. What am I doing wrong? Am I doing anything wrong? Do you like what you're hearing? Do you like the format of the show? What can I do to improve it? Do I need to improve it, or have I already done that myself? What do you want to do? What do you want me to do? Help me out here. Help a brother out. Because I want to bring you the best podcast that I can bring you. And like I said, on the 1-year anniversary, I want to push this as far as I can go. But I need your help. Request that feedback as well. So, help me out here. Anyway, hopefully, like I said, I hope you had a good week. I did nothing but wrestling this week, man. I've been watching the retro round. I wasn't watching the retro roundtable. I was watching Survivor Series 1992 this past week for the retro roundtable. You can see that on the network, by the way. More on that later. But be sure to check out that retro roundtable as well. Which was recorded this past Saturday, right before I had to go to work. So that was a hoot. But thank God we got it done and everything, despite connection problems with my beautiful internet, you morons. But other than that, it was actually a lot of fun. So be sure to check that out. The 9th installment of a monthly episode of the Retro Roundtable. Now, it will probably be weekly, but they can't fit that in with the Sunday Sacred Wrestling Podcast and all that. Be sure to check that out as well. The #1 podcast in all of podcasts. The one and only. The boundary. The standard barrier for podcasts. For all sedgeheads. That is the Sunday Sacred Wrestling Podcast. But be sure to check that Retro Roundtable out as well. I had a lot of fun talking old school, and I will be doing that as well, my own interpretation. Like I say, the Wrestling Matters Podcast Extra as well. I'll be talking about, old school ones myself, like Rick, maybe Royal Rumble 92, arguably one of the greatest Royal Rumbles of all time. Survivor Series 91, which was in a way my favourite Survivor Series-ish. There was a lot of good Survivor Series, but back then when I was a kid, that was my very first Survivor Series I ever saw, and I really, really did enjoy it. At least back then I did anyway. I mean, considering what it is now and everything with Ric Flair and that. Royal Rumble 93, Royal Rumble 94, hell, I'll probably talk some WrestleManias. Hell, I might even do a series on WrestleMania. Watch all the WrestleManias, bit by bit. So, I mean, just listen out, look out for them. You can hear them on Podomatic, Stitcher Radio, iTunes, Mixcloud, and YouTube. Make sure you check out YouTube. Also, check out my website as well. My website is in production. I will get that up and running ASAP as well, so be sure to check that out. It is theheadanthonywalker.com. So, all good stuff is happening, ladies and gents, It's all that good stuff. And like I said, more on ICW later on in the podcast. But with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to kick off this podcast edition of Raw Main Talking Points. So without further ado, let's get into it. Monday Night Raw kicked off this week with Randy Orton. You think that Brock Lesnar indefinite suspension would mean Seth Rollins' honeymoon would last forever. But here comes Randy Orton just 1 week into Seth Rollins' stint as World Heavyweight Champion to make a mess of his plans. In an unfortunate twist, if that's pronounced wrong, I apologize. However, it was Rollins who felt the sting of the Viper's remarks. It was Kane. It wasn't actually Rollins who felt the sting of the Viper's remarks. It was actually Kane that got involved. And the Director of Operations started off this week by making a 3-way triple threat match as the main event. Question is, would Rollins' opponent be the winner? Who would it be? We had Roman Reigns, Ryback, and Randy Orton. But they made them 3 go in preliminary rounds. Randy Orton versus Kane, Roman Reigns had a match, and Ryback had a match. More on that later. Speaking of Randy Orton, we'll talk about his match now with Kane. That old saying about best laid plans must have been ringing in Kane's ears after the Devil's favourite demon manipulated Randy Orton into what he thought would be a one-sided beatdown for Randy Orton against the Authority. Instead, it was Kane who was made the example of when Orton prevailed in an irritating manner for the disrespected Director of Operations, though not perhaps as decisive as a victory Orton would have liked. After the early advantage fueled by adrenaline, Kane found himself frustrated and overwhelmed when the Apex Predator hit his stride. Orton whacked the former WWE Heavyweight Champion with a pair of swinging kicks to the head and later a backdrop atop the barricade that Kane replied to with a blow from a steel chair that ended the match in disqualification. So Orton got the win, but going into the main event, weakened by a chair, Kane may have yet outsmarted the Viper. Or did he? The World Heavyweight Champion Seth Rollins won one-on-one with a debut with a man who had his second match on Raw. After beating Curtis Axel last week, he went one-on-one with Neville. That's right, a little bit of NXT in this, and it was a good match. You know, a good match. A lot of people were asking questions this week. Did they bury Neville? Doubt it. But yeah, it took J&J Security to ruin the match. So Seth Rollins got the win, which we already knew anyway, but we didn't need J&J Security involved. US Champion John Cena comes out and does his open challenge, and Stardust comes out and goes one-on-one with Mr. John Cena. It's week 2 of John Cena's open door policy on the United States Championship, and a man from Stars was the latest to take a swing at the America's defender. Unfortunately for Stardust, his decision to answer the champ's call didn't end with the Cosmic Traveler draped in Old Glory alongside his Mr. Sinister cape as Cena swarmed the former Intercontinental Champion Cody Rhodes to a loss. It took about 10 minutes of getting the paint off him before Stardust even got a leg up, pouncing with 3-move combo, the disaster kick off the turnbuckle, diamond dust off the second rope, and a counter of the attitude adjustment into an Alabama slam, which he learned from Hardcore Holly. Cena stayed in the fight, but Stardust, frustrated after Crossroads only netted him a 2 count, turned his attention to the referee Charles Robinson, and Cena literally leaped into action. The champ took the fight with a springboard stunner. Yes, you heard me correct. Springboard stunner, followed by an attitude adjustment to retain the title for another week, as a showdown against Rusev looms large in the distance at Extreme Rules. So, which was awesome in its own right. Paige and her new tag team partner, since AJ Lee is no longer with us, Naomi versus to beat the Bella Twins. So what the hell is going to be happening in that? I don't know. Ryback manages to beat Luke Harper and join in the fun of the triple threat match later on in the evening. Question is, will Roman Reigns join? The Luchadors and the New Day. The Luchadors end up making, I believe this was their debut or last week or whatever, I don't know, but they ended up beating New Day, and I think at one point there was a question backstage that was put that why don't people like the New Day? You know, people booing the New Day. Are these guys heels now? I'm guessing they are. I'm hoping they are, because let's face it, nobody likes them. And at the end of the day, it's just 3 people that don't have a direction to go to. And Vince turned around and went, let's put them together, see where it goes. But this gospel bullshit is really getting on my nerves, and I think my favourite part about this is the fact where New Day, Xavier Woods always bangs on the apron, and the crowd start chanting, New Day sucks. Which I never got this, to be honest with you, but, you know, I mean, if they wanted to put a tag team together out of this, they could have put Kofi Kingston and Biggie Langston together. I think that would have made a great team, but nope. But the Luchadors, the Lucha Dragons, one of the hardest teams to come out of NXT, get their win. Kalisto tagged in Sin Cara, executed a Salad de Sol on Woods. Wow, that's a mouthful. And sawed atop Biggie Langston and Kofi Kingston on the outside, allowing Sin Cara to pick up the win with a top rope senton. And the Lucha Dragons, like I said, get the victory. Roman Reigns versus Big Show. Wow. When have we seen this before? That's three main event competitors who roll into the final Raw bout with a win under their belts. Roman Reigns, rude fighting spirit, and healthily dollop of luck to earn a W over Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal winner Big Show. That will carry him to contention to be the next man to go against the one and only Roman Reigns. Let me say that again. The one and only Seth Rollins for the World Heavyweight Championship. That's right. The Authority's whipping boy, and probably the top heel in the WWE at this point in time, considering WWE at this point in time at least are very short on heels from what I've heard. Unfortunately for Reigns, Show rebounded quickly from that spear, which queued up Reigns' fighting spirit, though it took Reigns a long time to get back to his feet, to get his feet back under him, so he did so in the nick of time, bouncing Big Show off the ropes, unleashing Superman punches and a spear to get the win over the Big Show. Triple threat match later on. Sheamus beats Mark Henry. Squash match for me. Oh yeah, they're going to bring Sheamus back, have him wrestle a couple of weeks, and then have him lose. Miz defeats Damien Sandow. I hope this is not the last time we'll see this match. But they could have put this on the pay-per-view. They basically gave this match away for free, quite frankly. Everybody wants to see this match on the pay-per-view, or see this match and see Mizdow get one over on his boss, but hey. Speaking of the triple threat main event, 3 men, number 1 contender spot, no problem for Randy Orton. A few swings from a steel chair clearly left the Apex Predator at less than 100% going into Raw's do-or-die main event. But the 12-time world champion earned the chance at his baker's dozen when he knocked off Roman Reigns and Ryback in a wild triple threat match to close out Raw. And with the Authority watching from the ramp, the Viper certainly earned that destination to go one-on-one with Roman Reigns by beating Ryback. To go one-on-one with, I don't know why I'm saying this all the time, I apologize for this, guys. To go one-on-one with Seth Rollins, a lot of things I'm reading here, and face by beating Roman Reigns and Ryback. Yeah, there you go. Got there in the end. Raging aggression to tie them out and escaping the shell shock just in time to shove the big guy into a spear. The Authorities' attempt to get involved inadvertently made things easier when Reigns leaped into the faction and suffered 2 KO punches that took him out of the equation, while Ryback quieted himself with J&J. Orton struck the big guy with an RKO and became the number 1 contender, though a curb storm by Rollins immediately after the bell suggests that it's going to be a long road ahead than WrestleMania this time around for Mr. Orton to get the World Championship from Rollins. And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of the Raw main points, review points, whatever you want to call them. I will give Raw a 7 out of 10. Okay Raw. It wasn't a awful Raw or bad Raw, but it was okay. And with that being said, I will be back after this quick timeout with SmackDown main points. So I'll see you in a bit. If you like the Wrestling Matters podcast, why not check out the Wrestling Matters podcast Facebook fan page at www.facebook.com/WM podcast. Wrestling Matters, wrestling fans. Welcome back to the Wrestling Matters podcast, ladies and gentlemen. And without further ado, we'll get right into it. Let's get into the SmackDown main points. And you know what? I might throw the TNA ones in as well. We'll see how this goes. SmackDown kicked off this week with Daniel Bryan. I'll say that again. SmackDown kicked off this week with Daniel Bryan, pulling no punches on his recent actions of both Sheamus and Bad News Barrett. But before he could finish his conversation, the Celtic Warrior and Barrett interrupted to attempt a European-style ass-whooping. While the outspoken Dolph Ziggler emerged to even the odds, he quickly found himself eclipsed by the arrival of Big Show. That was until Roman Reigns opted to join the party, and despite a warning from the world's largest athlete, the big dog wasted little time unleashing his attacks, backing a 3-on-3 brawl between the 6 and ultimately leading to an explosive main event between the 6 men, which saw Big Show, Bad News Barrett, Sheamus go against Roman Reigns, Dolph Ziggler, and Daniel Bryan. More on that in a bit. Prior to their tag team match, Big E Langston and the New Day co-hosts attempted to give the WWE Universe a motivational speech in an effort to get the fans in their corner. In spite of their efforts, the faction's positive message was met with the notable chant of "New Day sucks" from the Dallas crowd. In the match against the tag team champions Cesaro and Kid, the chants continued. Then, in the height of the New Day's frustration, order completely broke down. This paved the way for Cesaro to hit the uppercut from outside the ring, setting up Kid to hit a vicious neckbreaker for the 3 count, seeing the tag team champions get one over on the New Day. Adrian Neville once again beats Curtis Axel again, they meet on SmackDown, and they win. And Neville wins again, bouncing back from his loss at Raw against Seth Rollins. Things turn violent as Natalya, Cameron, and Alicia Fox discuss Monday Night Raw's #1 contender Divas Battle Royal and hashtag Give Divas a Chance with Renee Young. That leads to Natalya beating Alicia Fox. Moments after the brawl, Natalya took on Alicia during the backstage interview. The two divas squared off with Cameron serving as special guest referee, and though the Queen of Hearts would make her foxy opponent tap out with a sharpshooter, Cameron ultimately stood tall by delivering a post-match DDT to both competitors. Sent a 3-way dance in the process between these two, I would imagine. I'll have to wait and see. Bray Wyatt bouncing back from his defeat with The Undertaker. 2 weeks after facing The Undertaker at WrestleMania, Bray Wyatt prepared to return to action with a rant aimed at his former Wyatt family disciple, Eric Rowan. In the highly personal contest that followed, the Eater World taught one last lesson to Rowan, nearly taking off his opponent's head with a vicious clothesline outside the ring and finish him off with Sister Abigail. What's next for Bray Wyatt? Wait and see, I suppose. A special movie target edition of Miz TV saw Miz shooting his mouth off about the Marine 4 movie, seeing his new cohort Summer Rae walk down to ring, and Mizdow coming down and completely cleaning the Miz's clock, and then planting a big smacker right on Summer Rae's lips, making a pretty big impact. Then on to the main event. In the height of the colossal 6-man tag match, Roman Reigns delivered a pair of Superman punches that sent Big Show off the apron to the outside ring floor, and then Bad News Barrett to the canvas. When Sheamus broke up the pin attempt by the powerhouse superstar that is Roman Reigns, Dolph Ziggler sent Sheamus flying over the top rope, then moments after Daniel Bryan hitting the world's largest athlete with the running knee off the apron, Reigns countered Barrett's bullhammer aerial with a Reigns countered Barrett's bullhammer elbow. Where did I get that from? Wow, it's a mouthful. Attempted with a mega spear for the victory and the team winning. What is going to be next for this, you have to tune in tonight on Raw. Now, 2 TNAs, main talking points. The hell with it. Let's just get on with it. Let's put TNAs in there and see where this goes. Probably nothing much to talk about, but we'll see. TNA kicked off this week with World Heavyweight Champion Kurt Angle addressing the controversial surrounding the finish of last week's main event. Angle invites Lashley to the ring. Lashley introduces footage, showing that his shoulder was off the mat. Lashley tells Angle that he didn't win before asking if Angle was satisfied with that victory. Angle says he won't back down from a title defense and the outcome will remain the same. Angle proposes the match for later on Impact. Meanwhile, Eric Young, claiming to be the #1 contender based on the weekly rankings, Young says he earned a spot after defeating Bobby Roode. Lashley tells Young to earn it again. Young rakes Lashley's eyes and hits Angle with a low blow. Lashley charges toward Young, but the spear connects with Angle instead, and enraged Kurt Angle challenges both Lashley and Young to a triple threat, or 3-way dance, whatever you see fit to call it. Also in this, Gail Kim and Awesome Kong compete for the #1 contendership to the Knockouts title, and Awesome Kong is now the #1 contender to the Knockouts championship. The Revolution participated in a 3-way dance against each other, which saw Manic, that Indian Kanhoi, and Abyss, which saw the big man take the victory, Kahoy that is, take the victory using the staff to assault his Revolution mates before powering Manic to the mat with a huge powerbomb to get the victory, which was kind of weird. Drew Galloway enters the TNA Impact Zone with the Rising. That's right, members of the Rising enter the arena, and Galloway tells the fans all he's ever wanted to be was a professional wrestler. He thanks them for their continued support and says the reason he came to TNA was to change professional wrestling with the stand-up movement. Galloway turns the mic over to his teammates, introducing themselves. First, Micah, son of Haiku, introduces himself, and then Eli Drake introduces himself. Together, they address the Beatdown clan, warning them not to mess with the Rising. Galloway says MVP and the BDC doesn't run Impact anymore. They vow a war. The BDC arrives on the scene. MVP advises the Rising not to try making their names off the beatdown clan. MVP assures the Rising will have the most tragic fall. Galloway counts down from 3 at 1. The BDC and the Rising collide. They battle all around the ring until order is restored. Galloway requests a referee. 6-man tag war takes place. Eli and Kenny start the match. Kenny slaps on the side headlock and attempts a shoulder block. Kenny catches Drake with a back elbow against the ropes. Drake then catches King with a scoop power slam before tagging out. Micah comes in face to face with MVP. MVP shoves Micah and Michael explodes with a series of rights. Michael follows up with a standing dropkick, a neckbreaker, scales the turnbuckle and low-key distracts the ref. Kenny King shoves him off from the top rope and he appears to have twigged his knee with the fall on the outside. MVP brings forth low-key, who commands the match and taunts the Rising. Kenny King tags into the match and capitalizes on the existing advantage. MVP quickly makes the tag and taunts Galloway and Drake as he drops Haku's son with a huge boot. Micah counters the blackout kick with a Samoan drop. He and MVP make their respective tags. Galloway mows over low-key with a big kick before knocking King off the apron. Galloway powers low-key into the corner. Drake and Galloway clear the ring. Haku's son Micah flies off the turnbuckle with a crossbody. That connects with all 3 members of the BDC. With their attentions focused beyond the ring, a masked man enters with a steel pipe and to attack the Rising. He takes out all members of the Rising. The man removes the mask. The bell sounds repeatedly and Homicide is returned to be the Beatdown Clan member. At least we know who Samoa Joe replacement was. The Rising win by DQ. Backstage, Eric Young attacks Kurt Angle. An X Division match saw DJZ and Davey Richards. Now, since Eddie Edwards is no longer in existence for the tag team titles or to be the tag team partner of Davey Richards, I guess he has to go into the X Division and manages to get a win over DJZ with a headbutt and gets the victory over DJZ. Now, the tag team division, while the guys are away, the American Wolves are away, sees that everybody wants a shot at the tag team titles and wants to put their names forward in this tag team tournament that's taking place. So the Hardys make their names in, and then they get interrupted by EC3 and Tyrus. EC3 describes everything in the 19 months of the undefeated streak. EC3 says he's making himself eligible for a championship opportunity and vows to win the tag team title tournament with his new partner, Brad. That's right, Brad. The member of the 55, who's still working with TNA, is now the new tag team partner of EC3. Mr. Anderson pops out and brings out Rockstar Spud, and then Austin Aries comes out walking around with his briefcase to claim that he will get a title shot at the World Championship anytime soon. Reunites and vows to take the tag team titles in this tag team tournament and reunites with Bobby Roode. That's right, the former champions reunite to claim back the tag team titles. It could be interesting to see what happens in this feud, in this tag team tournament. I can't wait. Now, the 3-way dance was a good match. Like I said, just a normal 3-way dance at the end of it all. And I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I will go through what happened at the end. Kurt Angle delivers 3 German suplexes to each of the opponents before locking in an ankle lock on Lashley. Lashley stands the pain but manages to roll through, sending Angle to the outside. Young takes advantage of Lashley as he sinks in a figure 4 leg lock. Lashley reaches the ropes. Eric Young, unbeknownst to the referee Brian Hebner, mounts a chair in the turnbuckle. Lashley catches Young with a long-standing vertical suplex, but when he charges for the spear, Young sidesteps and Lashley connects with a chair. Angle then rushes in behind, scores an angle slam on Young, and then delivers one to Bobby Lashley, and then followed by a moonsault, and this time there was no controversy. Kurt Angle retained the title. However, Eric Young swings a chair into the injured leg of Lashley. Young then locks Lashley's ankle in the chair before crushing it. Young, with a metal shin guard, applies a figure 4 when the hold breaks. Lashley scrambles in pain and Young gives a satisfied grin. What will happen next? Lashley versus Young, I guess? But with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of the SmackDown main points, and hell, the TNA talking points too. I will go to a quick break, and I'll be back after this with Ring of Honor. Stay tuned.
Be sure to listen to the Sunday Segway Wrestling Podcast.
What?
Every Sunday with Kenny Killer and the Galdem Sugar Shugs.
Yes!
With all the news, views, and laughter that you want.
They like jet airplanes. Woo! They like long limousines.
Every Sunday, the Sunday Segway Wrestling Podcast on Podomatic, iTunes, and YouTube.
So why don't you choke on that, slap nut?
Right then, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Wrestling Matters Podcast. It is now time for the Ring of Honor main talking points. I reviewed it, watched it on the Ring of Honor website, ROHWrestling.com, I believe it is. And it started off this week with Will Ferrara, I hope I said that right, going one-on-one with Michael Elgin. Elgin takes the fight to him from the start. Elgin with definitely the power advantage. Wow. Grounding Will, slowing him down. Will uses quickness. He was definitely the quicker of the two. Getting near fall after near fall. A discus forearm by Elgin rocks Will. A fisherman slam, near fall by Elgin. Elgin sets up a table, grabs Will, but Will escapes. Will is on the receiving end from a powerbomb in a corner, then middle of the ring to get the win. Like a double powerbomb, and then after the match, Elgin powerbombs him again. What for, I don't know. Maybe he was making a statement because he raised all kinds of hell at the 13th anniversary show. The following match after that was a job match, a squash match. Anthony Green and Cam Zagami. Wow, if I pronounced that right, that's 5 brownie points and maybe 10 brownie points to me. Take on the War Machine. Now, this was a squash match, quite frankly, and yeah. Rose showing awesome power, toying with Cam. Green gets the tag in. Rose suplexes him like a ragdoll. Double team on Green. Cartwheel clothesline Green on Green from Hansen. Leg drop, double team. War Machine get the win. But their victory was short-lived, so to speak, because after the match, Michael Elgin came back out and basically came down, ran his mouth off, and challenged them to a 2-on-1 handicap match. Now, nothing happened this much in this match, although it got onto the outside because Rose starts for the War Machine. Power display by Hansen, double team on Elgin. Power advantage to the War Machine. Hansen power bombs Raw on Elgin, which was like a power bomb, like double team, which was absolutely beautiful. And then Elgin manages to get on the outside and hits Raw with a chair. War Machine win by DQ. The War Machine end up getting pissed because they end up chasing Elgin and all that and trying to get into Elgin's face, and it took referees and that to break him up. And obviously the War Machine were pissed. Now, after that, QT Marshall went 1-on-1 with ACH. The Code of Honor was a no-go. Advantage ACH after kicking QT's head off, and boy did he ever. QT has the power advantage. QT in control of ACH fights back. QT backbreaker gets a near fall. QT in control. ACH creates space, fight back. German suplex gets a near fall. AC is rocking QT. QT turnaround suplex gets him a near fall. QT makes the biggest mistake in the match, which cost him the match, because QT misses a 450. ACH hits one and then wins. He basically ended up going for ACH's finishing maneuver, missing it, and then ACH gets one on him and gets the win, which was, quite frankly, a mistake. Definitely a mistake on his part. ACH after the win goes straight over to Steve Corino and hugs Steve Corino and celebrates in the ring. The Decade come out. ACH gets chances that he doesn't deserve, at least from the Decade. Then gets personal. Colby hits him from behind, hits ACH from behind, and then the beatdown erupts on ACH, and the Decade make a statement at the hands of ACH, which was quite frankly disgusting. Now time, ladies and gentlemen, for the main event. Now, I asked Michael Cook on Facebook this time, because he saw this match before I did, and I asked him, was it good than Samoa Joe and Kyle O'Reilly main event? And he said, yeah, but only just. So, with that being said, chain wrestling, great mat wrestling, chain wrestling, whatever you want to say to start off, even so far. Great mat wrestling, Briscoe controlling AJ. A great arm drag by AJ gets him in control, and AJ's working on the arm. A shoulder tackle by Mark grounding AJ, even so far. A drop kick from AJ, classic AJ, the leapfrog, the duck down, the drop kick. Just AJ to a T. So beautiful. Mark drop kick out on the floor, then AJ rock bottoms him on the railing as ROH goes to a break. Back from the break, Mark is in control of AJ. AJ rocking. Backbreaker gutbuster from AJ. Mark is in trouble. AJ controlling the pace, gets a near fall. AJ grounds Mark. Mark fights back. AJ locks in the calf killer. Mark manages to escape. Mark hits AJ with a clothesline that flattens AJ. Literally flattens him. I believe it was AJ coming out the corner. Mark gets AJ rocking. AJ fights back. Mark hits a suplex, then a fisherman buster, gets a near fall. AJ dumps Briscoe on the back of his head area, kind of thing. I don't know if it wasn't like a serious kind of thing. It was just like he took like a normal bump, and it looked like he was aiming on the back of his head area, from what I saw at least. The proverbial springboard DDT, the springboard moonsault into a DDT off the second rope by AJ, which was, again, classic AJ. Hard hitting stuff in this great match. Pele kick by AJ rocks Mark. Both men on the apron. AJ kicks the hamstring. Mark kicks AJ off the apron, then hits a cactus elbow on the floor. AJ caught Mark, hits a roll through DVD up top, looks for an elbow, hits AJ's knees, brainbuster, Styles Clash. AJ gets the win, which was, he was going to go for the elbow drop, but he managed, and AJ got his knees up and he elbowed AJ's knees, and as I said there, like a single arm brainbuster move, and Styles Clash combination, and AJ ends up getting the win. And I would say that was even for me. Cookie called it as that being slightly better than Samoa Joe's and Kyle O'Reilly's. A great wrestling match, but I would say they were both even, in my opinion. That's just my call on it, because at the end of the day, to be honest, I could go back and watch them both right now, if I wanted to. I can go find them and watch them both, and I would probably enjoy them both at the same level. But anyway, great match, and 5 out of 5 for Ring of Honor. Ring of Honor's doing good stuff, man. You've got to check them out. And tune in next week, because they have like a pay-per-view showcase which features Samoa Joe, Mark Briscoe, Samoa Joe, Jay Briscoe, the champion, and Juice and Liger and Jay Lethal. Now, if I don't see them two before that, I want to see what happens next week, definitely. So, again, more on that next week, 5 out of 5. Now, before I go to a break and come back with the NXT review, I want to add this in to it. For those of you that don't know, John Cena was on the Talk Is Jericho podcast, or Live with Chris Jericho, as it's now known, on the network. And this was after Raw. I've seen bits of it and everything, but it was relatively good. He talks about stories from OVW, stories, what he learned in OVW as well, under Jim Cornette and Danny Davis. It's the John Cena first meeting with Vince McMahon. Chris Jericho even mentions an argument that him and Vince had, like a disagreement they had, because when John Cena first made his pay-per-view debut at Vengeance, it was against Chris Jericho in 2002, the night Rock won the Undisputed Championship from The Undertaker and Kurt Angle in a triple threat match, which led to Brock Lesnar beating him at SummerSlam. That night, Chris Jericho went one-on-one with John Cena, and John Cena ended up going over on Jericho. Now, at the time, Vince and Chris Jericho, from what it was said on the podcast, Vince wanted to go over. They wanted Chris to go over on the podcast, but Chris fought for John and got John to go over instead, because Chris saw something in John at the time and everything, saw the potential that he had and whatnot. But there was like a disagreement backstage, and he also talks about the first meeting he had, John Cena that is, he talks about the first meeting that he had with Vince, which was going back to the night he fought Kurt Angle on SmackDown, cutting his hair and whatnot. Like I say, if you haven't seen it, go and see it. I recommend it. It was a good watch, and I'm watching it again. So, like I said, it's up to you. Check out. It's why you should get the network, guys. It's why you should get the network. Or go and find it on YouTube. I recommend just get the network. Get the network. You pay £10 a month, which is better than paying £20 a pay-per-view each time they're on and everything. I mean, you know, fuck you, Sky. Seriously. You wonder why I left you. But with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I will cut it there, and I'll be back after this quick timeout with NXT review. So stay tuned. Be sure to listen to the Wrestling Matters podcast each and every Monday, only on Mixcloud, iTunes, Stitcher Radio, YouTube, Podomatic, and SoundCloud. Wrestling Matters, wrestling fans, we talk about Monday Night Raw, we shoot the breeze, we pipe bomb, and we tell it like it is. Tune in each and every Monday for the Wrestling Matters podcast, where wrestling matters. Welcome back, wrestling fans, to the Wrestling Matters podcast, and we'll get right into it. I want to talk about ICW as well, talk about barramania podcast that I've got coming up as well, on the little sad thing that I'm doing now for the Wrestling Matters podcast, which is called Wrestling Matters Podcast Extra as well. I never know, one podcast episode I might just do a whole podcast on certain things as well besides WWE and that, but we'll get to that another day. I have some ideas, ladies and gentlemen, lined up for the Wrestling Matters podcast. It's just executing them, and I'm going to execute them in due time. But I've got a barramania podcast coming up, me reviewing barramania, and I'll look to do some more ICW reviews as well. Maybe a few things coming up as well, and the return of Jack Jester as well is back to ICW, and there was a show that took place yesterday in April 12th. I don't know when it was, but I know it's going to come up on ICW On Demand very, very soon. I will probably reviewing that, because the main event was Drew Galloway and Grado versus Jack Jester and Sabu. So be on the lookout for ICW podcasts coming soon. Barramania is coming this week. Sometime this week it will be up, so look out for it as well. At WM Podcast on Twitter, at Tony_Walker on Twitter, Facebook.com/WM Podcast, www.youtube.com/AJW Wrestling Matters. Look out for them, guys. Also on Podomatic, Stitcher Radio, iTunes, and Mixcloud as well. They're all coming soon. Barramania is coming this week, so be sure to check that out, guys. But without further ado, we'll get right into it with the NXT show and the NXT WrestleMania show. They showed WrestleMania Access, the tournament at WrestleMania Access, which consisted of two semi-final matches first, which was Finn Balor and Tyler Breeze. I'll get to that in a minute. And it started off with Hideo Itami and Adrian Neville. They go face to face to start off the match. Great wrestling. Neville with the advantage. Hideo controlling Neville on the mat. Gets a near fall. Neville letting the crowd get to him. Apparently someone shouted, "You suck, Neville," and Neville didn't take too kindly to that. Pace quickens a bit. Advantage Hideo. Neville slowing it down. He goes to the outside to, cool the jets a little bit. Kick, then clothesline sends Neville outside by Hideo. Neville back in control. Kick to the back, getting two near falls. Hitting kicks of his own, then grounding Hideo on the mat. Snap suplex, gets a near fall by Neville, back to grounding Hideo. Hideo mounting a fight back, Neville rocking. Flying clothesline by Hideo, gets a near fall off the top rope. Fisherman Buster gets a near fall by Hideo. A tease with the GTS move a little bit. Hideo charges Neville. Hideo takes a super kick in the face, and boy did he ever take a super kick in the face. And Neville gets a near fall. Corner drop kick, then kick, gets the win for Hideo, and he moves on to face either Finn Balor or Tyler Breeze. Great match to kick off. I would say a 4-star match with that. Moving on now to Finn Balor and Tyler Breeze. Yes, Finn Balor and Prince Pretty. Feeling out process, advantage Finn after an awesome drop kick, then towards Tyler and gets a near fall. Hits hard-hitting chops as they get up. Hard-hitting stuff so far in the match. Tyler in control, grounding Finn on the mat, slowing him down. Finn mounts a fight back till he gets kicked in the corner. He runs right into Tyler's feet, and then Tyler goes up top to the second rope, and then Finn bounces back with an enziguri kick that rocked Tyler. Boy, did he ever! Like, knocked him clean out, and he went face first onto the mat. And then Balor hits the swing play, then running drop kick and double stomp from the top that gets him the win and moves him on to the finals, which he faces Hideo Itami. They show a video package on what happened at the San Jose live event, and then it goes on to Finn Balor and Hideo in the finals. Finn Balor versus Hideo Itami, a quick-paced chain wrestling match starts the match off. Beautiful counter chain wrestling, allowing Finn to get an arm drag, controlling Hideo and the arm. Finn hits a beautiful dropkick, gets a near fall. Hideo controlling Finn on the mat, slowing him down, stretching him also, grounding his arm right in the cheekbone and the face area, which sucked. Balor mounts a fight back, hard-hitting stuff, and it was a hard-hitting match from start to finish. Hideo counters running dropkick with clothesline, then hits running knee. DDT across the ropes, flying clothesline, gets a near fall by Hideo. Again, he hits that top rope flying clothesline. A tease on the GTS, hard-hitting kicks, trading strikes in the ring. Hideo hits corner drop kick. Finn counters a kick, hits running drop kick in the corner, but Hideo stops Balor as he's going up to the top rope. Goes for the GTS. Balor counters to a roll-up and gets a near fall. Then Hideo shots back up, hits the shotgun kick and gets the win. They shake hands at the end. Now, a little bit of something here which broke that I obviously didn't see. They show a video package of what happened with Hideo going into WrestleMania, his excitement, being with his family and everything. They also show what happened at the San Jose live event, that he actually hit the GTS on Tyler Breeze. That's right, and the place popped. So it absolutely popped. The place erupted after he hit the GTS and gets the win over Tyler at the San Jose event. So if that can happen at the San Jose event, you wait until it happens on the NXT TV show. And it shows him, and it was just an awesome video package. Yeah, if you haven't seen the NXT show, go and find it and watch it. And you can see it on the WWE network as well, which is just phenomenal stuff. And a 5-star show for both matches as well as the show itself, man. I mean, NXT is where it's at in WWE. Now, quick promotion. I'm going to do these promotions now and get them over with. For information on EPW Wrestling in your area, go to epwwrestling.co.uk, EPW Wrestling 1 on Twitter, and facebook.com/EPW American Wrestling on Facebook. Also, like I've said before, and I'll say it again, TWT, Total Wrestling T-Side, is coming to Middlesbrough, their very first show. It's a new wrestling promotion. It's a new brand. They're coming to Teesside. They're coming to Middlesbrough. Their very first show will be taking place at Middlesbrough. Where, I don't know, in Middlesbrough. It could be at the Town Hall. It could be at the Rainbow Centre. It could be anywhere. I don't know. I haven't got that information yet, but I know I will do at some point. They will be presenting a show, a Halloween show, at the back end of October on Halloween night. For more information, go to the official TWT on Twitter. I believe that's what it is. If not, I apologize, but I believe that's what it is. I will leave links in the description. If you see this on YouTube and Podomatic, just check the description out and you will see their thing. Go to go to Twitter, my Twitter page for the Wrestling Matters podcast as well, because it's pinned on my page. It's pinned on the Twitter page as well. That the show's coming, check them out, guys. Get them in, check them out, help support the brand. And like I said, I'll probably have more information in upcoming podcasts as well. But with that being said, ladies and gents, I will be back after this with this quick time out, and then I will bring you the Jonny Ferrari, the the Jonny Ferrari interview. Sorry, I went a little bit slowed down a little bit there. But the Jonny Ferrari interview will be next. This guy is a poker champion and a manager now, and an entrepreneur too, and a very successful one from what he told me. So be sure to check this out. It's coming next. Part 1's coming next. Part 2 will be coming next week. So stay tuned. I'll be back after this. If you're a fan of the Wrestling Matters podcast, be sure to check out the Wrestling Matters podcast Twitter page at WM Podcast for news, reviews, and upcoming episodes, and you will be let know on various other topics as well in the world of professional wrestling. So if you like the Wrestling Matters podcast, be sure to follow the Wrestling Matters podcast on Twitter at WM Podcast. Wrestling Matters, wrestling fans. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the final part of the Wrestling Matters podcast. And yes, without further ado, it is now time for the Jonny Ferrari interview. Now, I recorded this on April 1st, 2015. He's an absolute cool cat. He did one the previous week for Sunday Segway. Make sure you go and check that out as well. But I didn't want to do it straight away, so I held back a little bit. We thought we'll record the show on April 1st, and I'll bring it on the podcast, and you are going to hear that right now. Ladies and gentlemen, this is part 1. He's a poker champion, and he's now a successful manager. He talks about various topics as well. Even gives his own topic and his own interpretation of what happened in ECW. When we mentioned Tommy Dreamer as well, he also talks about, we end up getting into a conversation about the old WWE ECW, the third brand that they had. So it's very, very good. And he also talks about how being mentored by the one and only Jimmy Hart and how that all came about. So be sure to check it out. Very cool interview. Fun guy. Here it is, ladies and gentlemen. The Jonny Ferrari interview, part 1. Check it out. Wrestling fans, Wrestling Matters podcast fans, it's me, it's that HEAD, Anthony Walker at your service, and I'm here with another interview. That's right, ladies and gents, got another interview lined up. You obviously checked out my Massimo Italiano interview. Well, I've got another one, and it's with a poker champion. That's right, a United States professional poker player, and he's the United States professional poker champion too. It is and he's also now switched into management. Wrestling management. It is the one and only Mr. Jonny Ferrari. What's up, Johnny?
Hello, sir. How are you? Am I coming in loud and clear?
Very loud and clear. I'm doing very well, thank you, sir. How are you?
I am doing so amazing. Just like how I was messaging you, I'm having an unusually, even for me, unusually epic successful day with the ladies in Vegas today. So.
Yes, you told me that as we were off air there before we came on recording.
Yeah, I had to pull over. It's like every stoplight. I could understand if it was, 1 or 2 hot girls. I'm on a streak, but it must be spring break or pheromones or I don't know what it is, because just every stoplight, bam, phone number, Wendy's drive-thru for Frosty, bam, another phone number, panties thrown at me, inquiry if EC3 is not married, because he's a hunk too. Yeah,
I was going to say we're round about that moment now with spring break, aren't we?
What's that?
We're round about that time now for spring break over there, aren't we?
Oh yeah. I'm not sure if it's in full swing or what's going on, but yeah. I know it's definitely around that time.
Right. Without further ado, start off. Where did you grow up? Where are you from?
Interesting. My parents, going back to them, they're from Italy, and they were on vacation visiting family in Canada, in the province of Ontario. And while they were on that vacation, I was born. And so I wasn't really supposed to be, but I was, and therefore I kind of, was a defector of Italy and kind of like Europe in general, because I stayed in Canada, and because my parents were there most of the time as well, and I elected to stay in school and go to Catholic school in Canada, and I loved being Canadian, so it was like the greatest accident in the world for me.
Yeah. Were you a wrestling fan growing up?
Of course I was.
What was your greatest memories?
You mean just stuff I'd seen on TV or events I'd participated in?
Stuff you've seen on TV?
Oh, well, I always loved the Hardy Boys, and that's why it's so cool to work with them and at the present. Of course, everyone involved in the 80s. I always loved the 80s guys. So if you want golden era 80s guys and golden era 90s guys, so to speak, and WWE was kind of developmental stages for me in my life. One I was it was before my time a little bit, so I was kind of revisiting it with my peers, the Hogan stuff in the 80s, and then the more contemporary side of wrestling. Obviously I was an adult, so I just absorbed it in another way. So
yeah, the 80s, Hogan in the 80s, the NWA stuff back in the day, late 80s. I first started watching wrestling, say about late 80s, early 90s, and my very first pay-per-view was SummerSlam 1991 with the wedding with Macho Man and Elizabeth.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, back in the day.
Oh, I love that. Was one of my favorite weddings of all. You know what? Maybe my favorite wedding of all time.
Yeah, it was mine as well. And the funny thing is, it's not what happened on the night that made it probably the funniest wedding, and probably my best wedding in wrestling ever. It was what happened at the reception when Jake the Snake and Sid Justice sneaked in unnoticed. I think it was Jake the Snake and Undertaker. It was Sid who chased him away. And nobody ever got to saw that unless you got the DVD or the video cassette back then.
That's so funny. I actually have that DVD. I have an old school, just all the discs I had ever purchased, and it's in this old CD case, a large one, the big 200.
Yeah.
And I know if I go to page 3, corner left, boom, SummerSlam 91. I got it.
Yeah, my very first ever pay-per-view, and it just took off from there. Did you ever want to get into wrestling? Did you ever see yourself being involved in wrestling? Obviously, you loved it growing up and everything, but did you ever see yourself being involved in it? Have that vision of being a part of professional wrestling?
Yes, absolutely, yes. I've always seen myself being a huge wrestling fan. I've always been a hands-on type of person. In terms of performing, I would consider myself abnormally versed and educated with experience than the average person. So, that transition, that wouldn't come till later, but, just growing up and whatnot, I didn't exactly have that specific goal of, hey, I want to be a wrestling manager, or I didn't even necessarily have any particular goal. I had just gravitated toward things, but it's really strange, almost like a psychic intuition that I grew up and I got into this and I became who I am because I always kind of sixth sensed it. It wasn't a particular. It's not like I'm a second generation guy or anything like that. You know what I mean? So yeah. I couldn't put my finger on it and where my place would be, but I always had felt that pulling me and myself being very attracted to it and taking it seriously one day.
Right, going off wrestling for a bit, you are a professional poker player. Are you a US poker champion? How did this love of poker and how did you get into the poker world?
Just being around as I believe I started. Well, I was a croupier. That's other parts of the world, people call that a dealer. Here in Vegas, for instance, it's, Vegas blackjack dealers. In Canada, I dealt blackjack and not really much into poker. And just there's a lot of people have a lot of issues, and gambling addiction is a terrible thing and all that. And I was a little sensitive to it, focusing on just collecting for the house and taking everything I would say and do would be designed to do that, and I was skilled that way. But it bothered me on a tiny capacity that all this money I'm taking in and all this misery I'm cashing in on, I'm not making a whole lot, and I just started getting really good at the games on the back end, and so I started playing blackjack, and that sixth sense that intuition would transcend as a player. So I would just make a lot more money consistently. Even there'd be obviously a lot of losing times, just like there are now. But with poker, there's no house advantage. With Texas Hold'em, it's player versus player, wit versus wit. So a little bit, even then, my ego came in, and I would look at these drunken, freaking, stupid, part-time, don't know what they're doing vacationers, and I just want to fleece them and take all their money.
How old were you when you first started playing poker?
6.
Really? 6 years old? Damn. No wonder. I was gonna say, no wonder you took it up a notch and everything, man. You had that early advantage back then. I mean, blooming heck, 6 years old. You obviously managed. Go back to your wrestling. We'll come back to the poker in a bit. Going to your wrestling, you obviously managed people like Bromains, James Storm, EC3, who you've claimed is your best friend. What is it like to manage guys like that?
As opposed to managing someone who doesn't have the caliber in terms of a success rate or profile, or what are we talking about?
Yeah. You've just said it there, yeah.
Right. I honestly, I wouldn't know, because all I do is strive for the best I can be and the best I can perform, and that happens to be on the elite top level. I would have to stretch my imagination. No offense to how a commoner's thought process is, and they would think, oh, how can I reach and strive and make this amazing thing happen, where I have to reach and strive to try to make myself understand what it wouldn't be to be involved with greatness. But it feels like success, and it feels like magic, and it's quite awesome. Obviously, I'm a wrestling fan as well. It's not close to being all business for me, but I'm a very hands-on wrestling manager in every essence of that term.
What was it like to appear as a surprise? Because it says here you made your surprise debut for Tommy Dreamer's House of Hardcore promotion at the Philadelphia. What was that like?
Incredible. One of the greatest experiences of my life, quite frankly. Yeah. It really didn't hit me how incredible it was until I'll share this with you. This is real, a heartwarming moment for me in the whole business. Is as soon as I came off my surprise little spot there and invading in the ECW arena, and backstage, Tommy Dreamer had somehow been descending from this magical staircase, it seemed at the time, and kind of like in a demeanor of a high school principal. And of course, I respect him to death. And he's like, "Well done, Ferrari."
Oh, good old Tommy. Yeah, the ECW legend, ECW god. To be honest with you, many people call him Mr. ECW back in the day, and
I would agree with that. That Ferrari, that is a Ferrari stamped approved statement.
I mean, they all say Paul Heyman was the mastermind behind ECW and the brains behind ECW, but Tommy was the heart and soul of it. I mean,
well, more importantly, the heart and soul is still alive and thriving today, and HouseOfHardcore.net is, in my opinion, the true legacy of ECW, not what really died out with WWE and whatever.
Yeah, no question about it. No question about it. I mean, considering what WWE tried to do with it and what they ended up doing with it.
What did they do? It was almost like it was a lower tier wannabe NXT or something they reduced it to. They tried to make it something it wasn't. It was just an utter disappointment.
See, my thing with it was in 2006 when it first aired, when it first came back on, there was some semblance of the old ECW because Paul Heyman was the GM. Dreamer was on, Sabu was there, Rob Van Dam. There was some semblance of it, and it had that It had that old ECW feel about it with the entrance as well. It wasn't like a big entrance that you see in WWE today. It was like the old, ECW like entrance, the caliber entrance that they would use. And then it gradually went on from there, and then it just like slowly, died off from being the old, and it kind of like melted towards being WWE stuff. And then in the pay-per-view, ECW December to Dismember, that was the final straw. And then it just went downhill from there. The one where Bobby Lashley won the ECW title in the Elimination Chamber.
Right. I would, in a way, I would kind of blame the fans, in my opinion, of WWE at that time, because they could have had a more vocal in terms of purchasing power and just and on all avenues. And I don't think it was popular. I don't think anyone really remembered ECW. It was a new audience, and the way that they were repackaging it, it wasn't really palatable. So they did, in my opinion. It was more like let's see if we can make this another SmackDown Raw type freaking side brand. Just how they did it with the video games and everything. Terrible.
Yeah, that's what they did. That's what they ended up. That's what they eventually ended up doing. I mean, like I said, before this, there was some semblance of the old ECW, and it had that old ECW feel about it. But like you said, just like
right,
it was like
I had revisited that. Sorry to cut you short there. I just remembered. I'd revisited that. I agree wholeheartedly. That was so cool. And it's frustrating to see them off on the right start with Heyman running the show seemingly, and that flavor being reconjured. And you know what I mean? Like, was it just gone? Did they drop the ball, or was that a conscious decision? I happen to believe, I wouldn't know, but I happen to believe it was a conscious decision and not a positive one at that.
Because people stop caring about it. I mean,
right.
If you haven't got the audience to watch the program or to care about what you're trying to bring out, then you might as well shut the door on it. I mean, the changes they made changes to the belt and brought in a WWE version of the ECW title, which looked horrible. They slowly pushed away the ECW legends that they had. I mean, at one point they had Sabu, like I said, they had Sabu, Tommy Dreamer, Rob Van Dam, Sandman, for Pete's sake, and this was the one that got me as well. During the draft, it was during the draft era, when you used to have the draft all the time, like once a year and everything. They put Sandman on the Raw. They drafted Sandman to Monday Night Raw.
Sandman?
Yeah.
And who else? The Vulture and Dr. Octopus?
Yeah, Sandman. They drafted Sandman to Monday Night Raw, and I was like, well, ECW's done. I mean, without him, I mean, all right, Tommy Dreamer was the heart and soul, but Sandman was the backbone of that place.
Precisely. Another sad note to kind of put the two worlds together is the recent success of doing things differently with NXT. Kind of underlines that they could have made it work, and perhaps if Triple H was the suit he was now at that time running ECW with the creative freedom that he has with NXT, it could have had longevity.
Yeah. I mean, the creative. I mean, what NXT's doing right now. I mean, like I said, WWE has a future, and it is NXT. It's got all the NXT people. I just hope they branch out. I mean, there's all these talk about NXT branching out to be its own brand. I hope it does, to be honest.
Right.
I really hope it does, but like I said, the future is definitely bright with WWE. What was James Storm like to manage?
He was, very easy to work with. We had our main objective at that time was it's pretty concurrent with the TNA storyline. What was interesting is at that time, we couldn't actually wrestle on TV in Vegas because a lot of guys with TNA in general at that time just couldn't do any other televised wrestling promotions, which I believe is not the case for the most part at the present time.
Yeah.
So that's just one thing that comes to my memories. We had to I had to manage him in a poker match with Robbie E, and I kind of bent the rules because I don't like Robbie E, so I wanted him to get kicked in the face, which he did. He got a good last call super kick right on the poker table, and that's out there somewhere. Disco Inferno was there. It's pretty cool.
I'll have to find that. What were the Bromains like to work with?
A lot of fun. A lot of fun. A lot of my favorite moments ever existing with those guys. A lot of testing moments, especially with Robbie, because he's scum, but he's a friend as well. But he's such a scumbag. And he, like, more notably, you know how I told you all these hot chicks are everywhere here, right? I'm in this elite. I'm off the strip. Like, Robbie comes around, or he would. Now he's banned at the moment. Hopefully he smartens up. But he would just, come around like, like I'd get like my liquor for me, the high end stuff, and he'd steal my bottle to go run off with some stupid Vegas random girl, just stuff like that. So if you can imagine every event we'd ever done together consistently for like every month for almost 2 years, the run I had with Robbie and all these testing times, it was a lot of extreme polar opposite negatives and positives.
Going back to your poker, what's your favorite hand you like to use when you're playing poker?
I like to use 10-4. It's such an unorthodox hand and means nothing, and it's a little bit of a spin inadvertently from Doyle Brunson's 10-deuce. Not that my 10-4 is that lucky or I have really any notable accomplishments with it. It's just an unorthodox hand, and somehow it resonates with me. Maybe with 10-4, copy 10-4, and on that capacity, it means something. I don't know. I like 10-4.
Yeah, I mean, the closest thing I've ever played poker with is Facebook. The Zinger Poker on Facebook.
Well,
Facebook, and the Texas apps as well.
Guess where you can play now around the world for free, better than the app. You can play on FerrariPoker.com
For free.
For free.
I might have to play then.
Yeah, and you can win.
Take a swim by.
Win real money, win quid, U.S. currency, whatever you fancy.
Oh, I'll have to check that out.
Yep.
What's the biggest hand you've ever won?
The biggest pot or hand or tournament prize?
Biggest pot. Yeah, biggest pot. Tournament prizes, whatever. What's the biggest one you've won?
I don't want to give away what I make exactly in private games because it's off the face of the earth. But I mean, which I may or may not even participate that much in. But on record, my biggest win is 1.7 million.
How did that come about?
I was in the tournament accidentally. I got staked from a buddy of mine, and it was so funny. We were arguing like a couple of schoolyard freaking punks, and because I didn't want to play in that tournament. I was being a sissy about it. I had just played a string of tournaments. I didn't think it was worth it on the return. I did not agree, is the bottom line, to play in that said tournament. So even though it was a bankrolled experience for me, now what that means is bankrolled is when you have an investor, and even though I bicker with my buddies and whatnot, even back then, that's serious business in my world. Is you always respect who your business partners are, and so that's why he invested with me. So his return was 30%. Right off the top, and then I, with taxes and all that mumbo jumbo, and they actually on over $1 million. Sometimes they'll hold back on the purse, so you have to like kind of, you got to wait. So I'm the type of guy I want to run out and go buy like a Ferrari at the dealership. I don't care if it's 3 a.m, which I have done in Vegas at the Wynn. I've purchased a Ferrari in the middle of the night because they, almost $250,000. Wake up for that, right?
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That is about it for the Wrestling Matters podcast. Hope you've enjoyed the show. Hope you've enjoyed that interview. Part 2 will be coming next week. Be sure to check that out. Like I say, very, very cool interview. Part 2 will be coming next week, and then I will upload the whole interview in its entirety as well after that. So be sure to check out Part 2 next week. This has been episode 54. Like I say, guys, contact me on Facebook, contact me on Twitter, WM Podcast on Twitter, Wrestling Matters Podcast on Facebook, facebook.com/Wrestling Matters Podcast, and hit me up on the email address as well, guys, because I really appreciate some feedback. What am I doing wrong? Is there any way that I can improve? the podcast, hook me up, let me know what I can do. I'll mention this in the description as well if you see this on Twitter, and in the descriptions as well on Mixcloud and Podomatic. So be sure to check all that out, man. Hook me up, let me know. Any suggestions, any feedback. It's WM Podcast on Twitter, facebook.com/WM Podcast on Facebook, and THE_HEAD316 at hotmail.com as well. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, hope you've enjoyed the podcast. Thank you so much for checking it out, listening to it, downloading and do all that good stuff. Share it as much as you can. Get it out there. Check out the Wrestling Matters channel as well. youtube.com/AJW Wrestling Matters, the only channel on YouTube that talks about wrestling that matters. But without further ado, and that being said, all the smoke is cleared. Stand up for professional wrestling, because wrestling matters. It matters to me, and baby, it should matter to you. Stand up for pro wrestling, because pro wrestling matters, and this podcast tells you that. My name is Anthony Walker. Peace out.